Look in the mirror. Just for a second, hold that exact image in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to imagine waking up exactly 180 days from today. You walk into that same bathroom, you look in the same mirror, but you are staring back at a complete stranger.
Right.
Someone who is physically imposing, emotionally untouchable, and, just economically thriving.
Oh,
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
great to be here.
Today's deep dive is about the exact, uncompromising biological and psychological blueprint required to make you completely unrecognizable in exactly 6 months.
It really is a phenomenal thought experiment, but what we are unpacking today is far more than just some motivational quote.
Oh, absolutely.
When you look at the raw biological timelines and the psychological habit formation windows from our source material today, well, this blueprint is a highly calculated mechanism for total human reinvention.
And that timeline is where I want to plant our flag first, I think.
Yeah.
180 days,
Yeah.
6 months. Because right now, the modern world is obsessed with overnight success or the standard 30-day challenge. We see it everywhere.
Oh, constantly.
Like get fit in a month or change your life in 30 days. And then on the other extreme, you have people drafting these sprawling, ambiguous 5-year plans.
Which rarely work out.
Right. But 6 months feels like this incredibly potent sweet spot. So why is that the magic number for profound human transformation?
Well, to understand that, we really have to look at the underlying architecture of human biology and cognitive psychology.
Okay, break that down for us.
So when you attempt a 30-day challenge, you are mostly just delivering an initial shock to your system. Let's be honest about what actually happens in 4 weeks.
Not much, usually.
Exactly. You lose some water weight, you grit your teeth through the withdrawal phase of a bad habit like quitting sugar or caffeine.
You feel miserable, basically.
Yeah, you might feel a temporary rush of novelty, but 30 days is simply not enough time to establish permanence on a cellular or neurological level.
So it's just the warm-up lap. You haven't actually changed the engine. You've just revved it really hard in the driveway for a few weeks.
That is a perfect way to put it. On a purely biological level, it takes months to literally tear down and rebuild muscle fibers from resistance training.
Right.
And neurologically speaking, your brain requires sustained repetition far beyond a few weeks to prune old neural pathways and solidify new baseline habits. 30 days requires willpower, but 180 days, that creates identity.
30 days is willpower, 180 days is identity.
I love that.
No.
Okay, but what about the 5-year plan? Because people love to talk about where they will be in half a decade.
Right, yeah. The problem with a 5-year or even like a 3-year goal is that it is way too abstract for the human brain to maintain daily urgency.
It's just too far away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The horizon is so far out that your brain convinces you that skipping one day or, skipping 1 week won't really matter. You lose momentum.
Because what's 1 day out of 5 years,
Right.
right? Exactly. But 6 months, however, is the perfect psychological horizon. It is long enough for you to physically rebuild your body, structurally rewire your brain, and tangibly upgrade your social status.
Wow.
Yet it's short enough that you can actually visualize the finish line. The urgency is always present. You can maintain intense focus without burning out.
That makes total sense. It's right there in front of you, but
Yeah.
it demands real, sustained time. So I want to speak directly to you, the listener, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm challenging you to step up today. Imagine committing to this blueprint, ruthlessly putting in the work, and then looking in that mirror 6 months from now. Imagine staring back at your reflection and barely recognizing the incredibly capable person you've become.
It's a powerful visual.
It really is.
Yeah.
So if you are ready for that, we have 7 core transformations to navigate today, and they build on each other with brutal logic.
They really are deeply sequential. You cannot skip a step here because each phase generates the energy and the capacity required for the next one.
Which brings us perfectly to the starting line, right? Building the physical foundation. I think it makes total sense that this entire blueprint starts with the physical body.
Oh, absolutely.
Because mental change often has to start with the physical hardware. It's the most visible transformation you can make, and it yields the absolute fastest initial boost to your momentum.
It is the anchor for everything else. You cannot optimize the software of your mind if the hardware of your body is actively failing you.
I always think of it like the foundation of a house. Imagine buying a crumbling, rotting Victorian house.
Okay, yeah.
You can't start your renovation by installing high-tech smart home systems, fancy ambient lighting, and high-speed internet, which represents, your mind, your intellect, your focus.
Right, because the house is falling apart.
Exactly. If the actual walls are crumbling, the roof is leaking, and the floorboards are rotting, the smart systems don't matter at all. The house is going to collapse.
Yeah, you have to pour the concrete first.
You have to secure the frame. And according to our sources, pouring that concrete requires 3 non-negotiable physical commitments.
Correct. So first, you must commit to resistance training at least 3 days a week. And we were talking about lifting weights or executing rigorous, progressive bodyweight exercises.
And not just running on a treadmill.
Right. Cardio is wonderful for cardiovascular health, obviously, but resistance training is the only mechanism that actually reshapes your physical structure.
Okay, got it. Second is the fuel for that structural change. Dramatically increasing your daily protein intake to support the massive amount of muscle repair you are initiating.
Essential.
And third, the one everyone universally hates to hear but absolutely knows is true. Eliminating artificial sugars and ultra-processed foods entirely. Just wiping them off the map.
That is usually the hardest one for people.
Oh, totally. And actually, I want to push back on this last point just a little, because the modern wellness industry loves the phrase, everything in moderation. Why does this blueprint demand complete elimination of these processed sugars? Why can't I just have a little bit of junk food if I'm lifting weights 3 days a week?
Well, because for this specific 180-day protocol, we are not just talking about managing calories. We're talking about neuroinflammation and hormonal stability.
Okay, explain that.
When you consume ultra-processed foods and artificial sugars, you are intentionally spiking your blood glucose and insulin levels.
All right, the sugar rush.
Exactly. And that massive spike is always followed by a crash, which manifests as that overwhelming 2 o'clock in the afternoon brain fog and lethargy we all know.
Oh, man. The 2 p.m. slump is real.
It is entirely biological.
Yeah.
You cannot achieve the cognitive focus required later in this blueprint if you are riding a biological roller coaster of insulin crashes.
So it ruins your focus.
Completely. Furthermore, processed sugars drive systemic inflammation, which literally slows down your brain's processing speed.
Okay, that makes complete sense. The everything in moderation rule applies to a maintenance phase of life. But this isn't maintenance. This is a complete tear down and rebuild.
Precisely. And this raises a fascinating biological feedback loop. Why are we focusing so heavily on the physical body when the ultimate goal is a total life transformation, including emotional and economic upgrades?
Yeah, walk me through that feedback loop, because for a lot of people, going to the gym is just about vanity. It's about wanting to look good in a swimsuit.
Right.
But the sources are pointing to something much deeper happening under the hood here.
Think about what happens biologically over 180 days of this specific physical routine. Your body is forced to adapt to the mechanical stress of resistance training by increasing bone density and building muscle mass.
Okay.
The high protein intake and the complete lack of processed sugar severely reduce that systemic inflammation we just talked about.
So you're healing from the inside out.
Exactly. Suddenly, your cellular turnover improves. You have clearer skin. You lose the heavy, sluggish feeling. But the most profound shift is entirely mechanical.
Mechanical, like how?
As your posterior chains sew, your back and core muscles, as they strengthen, your resting posture fundamentally changes.
Oh, wow. You literally, without even thinking about it, just stand taller.
You literally stand taller. Your biomechanics shift. Because your back is strong, you no longer slouch forward over your desk or your phone.
Which we all do all day long.
Right. And when you stop slouching, your rib cage opens up. This allows your diaphragm to fully expand, pulling deeper breaths of oxygen into your lungs.
And what did that do?
That deep diaphragmatic breathing naturally lowers your circulating cortisol, which is the primary stress hormone.
Wait, hold on. This is incredible. So you're saying that just by lifting weights, pulling your shoulders back, and breathing deeper, you are chemically altering your stress levels?
Absolutely. It is an evolutionary biological trigger. Think about it. When an animal is stressed or threatened, it curls inward to protect its vital organs, taking shallow breaths.
Right, the fetal position.
Exactly. But when an animal is secure and dominant, it exposes its chest and breathes deeply. By fixing your posture through resistance training, you are constantly signaling to your own nervous system that you are safe and powerful.
So when you walk into a room, you aren't just looking better. Your biological signals are literally projecting calm, grounded power.
Exactly. You see that real muscle definition in the mirror, and that visual proof of your own relentless hard work naturally skyrockets your self-esteem.
You are literally wearing the trophy of your own discipline every single day. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things.
Exactly.
Okay, so now the concrete is poured, the walls of the house are strong, your physical body is humming, your cortisol is down, and you are no longer crashing at 2 p.m.
You're primed.
You now have this massive surplus of clean biological energy.
Yeah.
And if you don't direct that energy, it just turns into restlessness. So where do we aim it?
You have to point it at high-leverage cognitive skills.
Which brings us to the next massive phase of the blueprint, mastering a hard skill.
This is the pivot where we move from just surviving to actively thriving.
Right.
The modern world heavily, disproportionately rewards rare and valuable skills. The blueprint dictates that you must dedicate 1 to 1.5 hours every single day, without fail, to learning a high-value skill.
We're talking about things like learning a new language, mastering emerging AI tools, full-stack coding, or, professional video production and content creation. Skills that generate massive leverage.
Highly monetizable skills.
Exactly. And the math here is fascinating. An hour and a half a day over 180 days is roughly 270 hours. Let's call it 250 hours, just to be conservative.
Okay.
The source material states that 250 hours of deep focus puts you ahead of 90% of beginners in any given field. But I have to push back on this heavily. 90 minutes a day. We are competing in a global economy against people who code 12 hours a day. People go to university for 4, 6, sometimes 8 years for these exact subjects.
Right. It seems like a mismatch.
Yeah. How does 90 minutes a day for 6 months actually move the needle in a meaningful way? Walk me through why this isn't just a drop in the bucket.
It is a totally valid skepticism. To answer it, we have to clarify the massive difference between passive learning and deep, uninterrupted focus.
Okay.
Let's look at the university model you mentioned. When someone goes to a university, they might spend 4 years there, but how much of a 1-hour lecture is actually deep, unbroken focus?
Probably not much.
Usually it's a lot of passive listening. It's taking half-hearted notes, getting distracted by a phone, chatting with the person next to you, and cramming the night before an exam. The actual time spent in deep cognitive strain is shockingly low.
Well, I was definitely guilty of that. Sitting in the back of the lecture hall, technically present, but mentally a million miles away.
Most of us are. It is just human nature. But this blueprint demands 250 hours of deep, uninterrupted, highly intentional practice.
Meaning no distractions.
None. This means active problem solving. No phones, no background television, no multitasking. Just you wrestling with complex code or intensely conversing in a new language.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. But this specific type of intense focus learning drastically alters your income potential because you are building practical, applicable competency, not just theoretical awareness.
I see.
And beyond the economic value, the biological changes happening inside your brain during those 90 minutes are staggering.
Oh, this taps into neuroplasticity, right?
Yes, exactly.
For those listening, neuroplasticity is basically the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections.
That's a great definition.
I like to remember with a simple example sentence like, learning a foreign language boosts your brain's neuroplasticity.
Spot on. And that's exactly what's happening here. When you are a child, your brain is incredibly plastic. It absorbs everything.
Like a sponge.
Exactly. As we age, if we don't actively challenge ourselves with difficult new concepts, those neural pathways become rigid and crystallized.
We get stuck in our ways.
Right. But engaging in 250 hours of deep, frustrating, complex focus forces the brain to build entirely new highways.
So you aren't just learning how to code or how to speak Spanish. You are physically upgrading the processing power and the youthfulness of your brain. You are keeping the machinery adaptable.
Exactly. You are literally making your brain faster and more resilient to aging.
But here's where it gets incredibly tricky and where we hit a massive, brutal roadblock for most modern listeners.
Yeah, the digital problem.
You simply cannot achieve 90 minutes of deep, uninterrupted focus if your brain is constantly frantically vibrating, craving its next digital hit.
It's impossible.
You can't just sit down to learn Python if your hands are shaking for your smartphone. Which leads us into the third phase, digital detox and dopamine control.
This will likely be the most painful and difficult pillar for anyone attempting this 180-day transformation.
Worse than the diet.
Oh, far worse. We are living through an absolute epidemic of destroyed attention spans. Our neurology has been completely hijacked.
The blueprint is ruthless about this. It says you must cap mindless social media scrolling at 30 minutes maximum per day.
30 minutes max.
And more importantly, you have to completely eliminate all short-form content. No Reels, no TikToks, no YouTube Shorts, zero.
To understand why this rule is so absolute, we have to look at the anatomy of your brain's reward center, specifically how dopamine functions.
Okay, let's get into the brain chemistry.
So, dopamine is not actually the chemical of pleasure, as most people think. It is the chemical of motivation and anticipation.
It makes you want things.
Yes, it is the molecule that makes you pursue things. Every time you swipe your screen and see a new, highly stimulating 15-second video, you get a micro spike of dopamine.
It's like feeding your brain junk food snacks all day.
Ex-
Think about it like this. If you sit on the couch eating potato chips, sour candy, and drinking soda every 5 minutes all afternoon, when a beautiful, nutritious steak dinner is finally put in front of you, you won't want it.
You'll feel sick even looking at it.
Right. You will have absolutely no appetite for a real meal because you've ruined your palate with cheap synthetic flavors.
That's a phenomenal analogy.
Your brain operates the exact same way. If you feed it 1,000 15-second entertainment snacks all day long, it will never have the appetite for the real meal of a 90-minute deep, productive work session.
It just won't happen.
You'll sit down to learn coding, and your brain will just scream, "This is boring. Where is the shiny dancing video?"
The junk food completely overrides the system. When you constantly flood your dopamine receptors with these massive, cheap, effortless spikes from short-form content, your brain adapts by down-regulating its receptors.
Kind of regulating.
Yeah.
Meaning it turns them off.
It literally turns down the sensitivity to handle the flood, yeah. As a result, normal, everyday activities like reading a book, studying a skill, or even having a slow conversation with a friend suddenly feel agonizingly boring.
Wow.
You have artificially raised the threshold for what your brain considers stimulating.
So what happens when you cut it out? What does that dopamine baseline reset actually feel like for the person doing it tomorrow morning?
Well, initially it feels terrible.
I bet.
It feels like genuine withdrawal. You will feel highly irritable. You will feel a profound sense of boredom and restlessness. Your brain will trick you into thinking you are missing out on vital information.
The FOMO is real.
Very real. But if you hold the line, within just a few weeks of this 180-day protocol, a profound healing process begins.
The receptors start to open back up.
Exactly, your baseline resets. The incredible result is that your mind becomes remarkably calmer. That low-level, vague anxiety that so many people walk around with, that constant feeling that they need to check something, begins to completely melt away.
That sounds so freeing.
It is. Your actual capacity to sit perfectly still, focus on complex information, and execute the hard skills we just discussed finally returns. You reclaim your attention span, which is arguably the most valuable currency in the modern world.
Okay, so let's connect those dots. You've detoxed from the digital junk food. Your brain isn't buzzing with 15-second videos anymore. The anxiety is fading. You have successfully created this quiet, vast, empty space in your mind.
Yes.
But, nature abhors a vacuum. You have to fill that space with something or you'll just slide backward.
You will definitely fly backward.
The fourth phase of this blueprint is entirely about what you choose to fill that space with, pointing to one specific habit.
Yeah.
Deep reading.
Yes. The specific metric demanded here is to read 20 to 30 pages every single day.
Okay.
Over the course of 6 months, that adds up to roughly 12 to 18 high-caliber books.
And I want to clarify, this isn't just about reading fantasy novels or beach thrillers, though. I mean, those are incredibly fun and have their place.
Oh.
The sources specifically dictate focusing your reading on 3 core genres: psychology, biographies of great historical leaders, and literature specific to your professional field.
Very specific choices, yes.
Why those 3 specifically? Why not just read Twitter threads or long blog posts? Why books?
Because reading a physical book requires a sustained, prolonged period of attention, which rebuilds your focus. But regarding those specific genres, they directly rebuild your underlying mental models of how the world works.
No so.
Well, psychology helps you understand the deep motivations of yourself and the people around you. It helps you navigate human nature.
Makes sense.
Biographies are essentially cheat codes. They provide you with the mental frameworks of how highly successful people navigated immense adversity and complex challenges. It is a slow, methodical transfer of complex thought from the mind of a genius into your own mind.
I love that. A cheat code.
And professional literature, of course, sharpens the hard skills you are building in Phase 2.
So we're really talking about a massive cognitive upgrade here. And just to define that for our listeners, when we say cognitive, we mean anything related to mental processes like thinking, learning, and understanding.
Spot on.
So a good example sentence would be, deep reading improves your cognitive abilities and mental clarity.
That's a perfect example. Deep reading improves your cognitive abilities in ways short-form content simply can't.
Right.
When you read a tweet, you are getting a fragmented piece of information without context. When you read a 300-page biography, you are forced to hold complex variables in your mind over several days. You are following a sustained argument.
It's like downloading upgraded software for your brain.
Yeah.
You aren't just memorizing facts about Abraham Lincoln or Steve Jobs. You are adopting the way they processed reality.
Yes. Over the course of these 180 days, your vocabulary naturally expands, which allows you to articulate much more nuanced and precise thoughts.
You sound smarter.
You are smarter. Your analytical thinking drastically sharpens. And ultimately, your decision-making becomes visibly more mature and logical. You stop seeing the world in simple black and white, and you start seeing the complex, interconnected systems at play.
That makes total sense. But here is the friction point.
Okay.
Reading about great leaders, understanding their psychology, analyzing their decisions. Well, that's the easy part.
Sure is.
Sitting on a comfortable couch reading about courage is easy. Acting like a great leader when you are exhausted, stressed, and things get incredibly tough, that is brutally hard.
Entirely different ballgame.
And that requires an immense amount of willpower, which takes us straight into the fifth pillar of the blueprint, practicing ruthless discipline.
This is the forge where the actual transformation happens. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but without this phase, you are just an educated procrastinator.
Oh, an educated procrastinator. Ouch.
It's true. This phase requires the daily practice of difficult tasks.
The rule here is simple but incredibly demanding. You must perform at least one difficult task every single day that you absolutely do not feel like doing.
Every single day.
The sources give examples like taking a freezing cold shower first thing in the morning, saying no to unhealthy social impulses, like, turning down drinks when you know you need to wake up early to study, or finally tackling that massive project at work that you've been delaying for weeks.
It is about engineering daily adversity.
And it demands a mindset that is completely relentless. And by that I mean you have to be unyielding, never stopping or yielding in your intensity, no matter the obstacle or how uncomfortable you are.
Exactly.
Like if I had to use it in a sentence, I'd say her relentless dedication to training made her an unstoppable athlete. You want that exact unstoppable quality applied to your daily execution.
Yes. And the reason this specific pillar is so crucial is that most of the modern population fundamentally misunderstands what discipline actually is.
Yes. Let's talk about the motivation myth. Really wanted to ask you about this. Most people treat discipline like it's an emotion.
They do.
They wake up, they feel tired, and they say, I just don't feel motivated today. They sit around and wait until the mystical feeling of motivation strikes them before they go to the gym or open a book or sit down to code. How does this blueprint entirely flip that script?
It flips the script by treating discipline as a physical and neurological muscle rather than an emotion.
Okay, a muscle.
Right. Motivation is a feeling, and like all feelings, it is completely unreliable. It is fleeting. It comes and goes based on how much sleep you got, what you ate for dinner last night, or even the weather outside.
So true.
You cannot build a life on motivation. Discipline, however, resides in a specific part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex.
The anterior mid-cingulate cortex.
Yes, and neuroscientists are finding that this area of the brain literally grows larger when you force yourself to do things you do not want to do.
Wait, it physically grows? Like it gets bigger?
It physically thickens. But if you only do things you enjoy, it shrinks. By forcing yourself to do one uncomfortable thing daily, like stepping into a freezing shower when every fiber of your being wants warmth, you are practicing the act of overriding your brain's evolutionary desire for comfort. You are doing a bicep curl for your anterior mid-cingulate cortex.
You're proving to yourself that your feelings do not dictate your actions. You are separating the emotion from the execution. Like, I feel cold, I feel tired, I feel scared, but I am taking the action anyway.
Exactly. And when you practice that separation consistently for 180 days, you eliminate the very concept of quitting from your internal vocabulary.
It just doesn't exist anymore.
Right. You step into total self-mastery. You gain absolute control over your immediate primal urges. So when the time comes to do the deeply frustrating work for your career, or to stick to your strict diet when everyone else is eating cake, it's not a debate in your head anymore.
There's no internal negotiation.
Zero negotiation. You have trained the muscle of execution so heavily that doing the hard thing becomes your default state.
Okay, so this pillar gives you incredible, unstoppable control over your actions. You become a relentless machine of execution.
Right.
But if you only have execution, you become rigid. To gain control over your emotions, you must embrace the exact opposite of action. You have to embrace total non-action. You have to sit perfectly still.
Which is terrifying for most people.
This is phase 6, daily silence and self-awareness.
This is the vital counterbalance to the relentless drive we just discussed. If you only push, you eventually break. You need to regulate the nervous system.
The rule here is incredibly stark. Spend exactly 10 minutes every single day in absolute unbroken silence.
10 minutes.
No music playing in the background, no podcasts, no books, no guided meditation apps. Just you, sitting in a room with your own thoughts. Or, the alternative provided by the source is to take a physical pen and paper and write down your thoughts, your deep fears, and tomorrow's goals in a journal right before you go to sleep.
To fully grasp the sheer necessity of this, we have to look at how the vast majority of people operate in the modern world. They live entirely on autopilot.
It's like a pinball machine. Think about the silver ball in an arcade pinball machine.
Okay.
It gets launched into the chaotic game, and then it just bounces frantically off the bumpers, the flippers, the bells, the lights. The ball has absolutely no agency. It just violently reacts to whatever it hits.
Right.
Most people's emotional state is exactly like that silver ball. They get a stressful email from their boss, ding.
Oh.
They immediately get angry and ruin their morning. Someone cuts them off in traffic, ding. They ricochet into anxiety and frustration.
You're just bouncing around.
Exactly. They're just blindly reacting and bouncing off whatever external stimuli hits them. Spending 10 minutes in silence is like putting your hand on the glass, stopping the ball, and finally looking at the entire board.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. You are stepping out of the machine.
Yeah.
When you sit in absolute silence or when you journal out your swirling fears and goals, you are forcefully breaking the ingrained habit of emotional reactivity. In neuroscience, we talk about the default mode network in the brain.
What's that?
When you remove external input, your brain finally has the space to process, synthesize, and file away all the chaotic information of the day. You shift from being the victim of your thoughts to being the observer of your thoughts.
You realize that you don't have to act on every emotion that pops into your head. So what is the tangible, real-world result of doing this daily for 6 months?
The tangible result is the creation of a gap. It transforms a person from someone who reacts impulsively into someone who responds thoughtfully.
A gap. I like that.
When that highly stressful email comes in, instead of instantly firing back a defensive, angry reply that you will regret, there is a gap, a moment of profound internal silence. You assess the situation, you regulate your physical nervous system, and you respond with measured intention.
Wow.
Over 180 days, this singular practice creates an incredibly grounded, emotionally bulletproof individual. Nothing rattles you anymore.
Which perfectly, seamlessly sets the stage for the 7th and final pillar, upgrading speech and body language.
The external manifestation.
Because, think about it, when you are physically strong and healthy from pillar 1, mentally sharp from your hard skills in reading, highly disciplined in your actions, and emotionally untouchable from your daily silence, well, it fundamentally alters how you interact with the outside world.
It has to.
The internal transformation demands an external upgrade.
It changes your entire social presence.
Yeah.
Human beings are deeply tribal, evolutionary creatures. We constantly, subconsciously judge each other based on nonverbal cues, posture, and vocal tonality, long before our neocortex processes the actual words being spoken.
The blueprint lays out very specific, actionable instructions for this external upgrade. You must practice sitting and standing upright with an open posture, exposing your chest rather than guarding it.
Right.
You must maintain direct, unwavering eye contact during conversations. You must speak deliberately at a slower, measured pace. And you must practice active, intense listening rather than just waiting for your turn to speak.
Let's break down the evolutionary mechanics of exactly why this works.
Please do.
When you sit with an open posture and maintain strong eye contact, you are signaling to the other person's subconscious nervous system that you are not a threat, but you are also absolutely not intimidated.
You're grounded.
You are completely secure in your own space. When you speak deliberately at a measured, slightly slower pace, you biologically signal that your words have high value. You don't need to rush your sentences because you know people will wait to hear what you have to say.
It's the exact opposite of being nervous and talking really fast, pitching your voice high, just desperately hoping someone will pay attention to you.
Precisely. Fast, erratic speech signals low status and high anxiety. Slow, deliberate speech signals high status and total control.
It creates this undeniable aura of charisma. And
Hmm.
for our listeners, charisma is just that compelling attractiveness or charm that naturally inspires devotion in the people around you.
Yes.
A great example would be he spoke with such calm confidence that his natural charisma filled the room. That's the exact dynamic you're building here.
That's it, exactly. And what is so deeply fascinating here is that society has brainwashed most people into thinking charisma is just something you are genetically born with.
Right, like you either have it or you don't.
They think charisma means being the loudest, funniest, most extroverted person at the party who is always telling jokes.
But according to everything we've unpacked in this blueprint, that's completely backwards.
It is entirely backwards. Truly, commanding a room isn't about volume or being the center of attention. It is about projecting calm, measured, undeniable strength.
Unshakable strength.
When you apply these body language and speech upgrades, coupled with all the internal work, how people treat you will change immediately. You will notice it in days.
Is they that fast?
Oh, yes. People will naturally defer to you more often. They will listen to you more closely. They will interrupt you less, and they will fundamentally trust your judgment.
Because they intuitively sense that you have built the real substance to back it up. You aren't faking it. It's not a cheap parlor trick.
Exactly. It's authentic.
The open posture comes completely naturally because your back and core muscles are physically strong from phase one. The calm, measured speech comes naturally because your brain is detoxed from cheap dopamine and you've been reading complex, deep books.
The pieces fit together.
The emotional control is real because you've sat in silence. Everything connects. It is a complete, holistic ecosystem of self-improvement.
It really is beautifully designed.
But let's pull back for a second, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Because we just threw 7 massive paradigm-shifting lifestyle changes at you, the listener.
It's a lot to take in.
We are talking about overhauling your diet, adopting heavy resistance training, studying complex skills for 90 minutes a day, detoxing from all social media, reading intensely, practicing daily uncomfortable discipline, sitting in total silence, and manually overriding your body language.
When it is listed out like that in one breath, it sounds completely paralyzingly overwhelming.
It sounds like a guaranteed recipe for a mental breakdown. If someone listens to this, gets highly motivated, and tries to execute all 7 of these pillars at 100% intensity tomorrow morning, they're going to crash and burn by Wednesday afternoon.
Without a doubt.
So the ultimate question is, how do we actually execute this 180-day blueprint without failing immediately?
That brings us to the final unifying safety net provided by our sources, which is the golden rule of 180 days.
The golden rule.
And the golden rule is incredibly forgiving. You do not need to start all 7 habits at 100% maximum intensity on day 1.
Oh, thank goodness.
In fact, extreme speed and the demand for perfection are actually the greatest enemies of long-term transformation.
Say more about that. Why is the desire for perfection the enemy here? Shouldn't we want to be perfect?
Because perfection is incredibly fragile. If your goal is to be 100% perfect, the psychology is binary. You are either a success or a failure.
There's no middle ground.
Right. The moment you inevitably miss one day of reading, or you slip up and eat one piece of processed sugar at a birthday party, or you skip your 90 minutes of coding, your brain throws its hands up.
You feel like you failed the entire challenge and you completely quit.
Exactly. But the blueprint reveals a massive secret.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow this protocol at just 80% effort, but you do it without ever fully stopping, you will still be utterly unrecognizable in 180 days.
Which is why the secret ingredient to all of this is consistency. That quality of always performing or behaving in a similar positive way day after day, regardless of perfection.
That is the key.
Like, consistency in your daily habits is far more important than intensity.
Absolutely. Consistency is the glue that holds the entire biological and psychological process together.
So it is infinitely better to read just 5 pages a day for 180 days straight than it is to read 50 pages a day for one highly motivated week, burn out, and then never pick up the book again.
Yes, 100%.
It's the compound interest of self-improvement. You just have to stay in the game. You cannot quit. Even if you have a terrible, exhausting day and you only give 40% effort, you just wake up and show up again the next morning.
That's all it takes. And if we pull all the way out and look at the macro picture, this entire blueprint presents a beautifully profound paradox.
A paradox. How so?
Well, for 6 straight months, you are essentially instructed to be highly unapologetically selfish.
Okay, I see that.
You are spending hours every single day focusing entirely on rebuilding your own physical, mental, and emotional foundation.
Yeah.
You are hoarding your attention, fiercely protecting your time from distractions, and ruthlessly building your own skills.
And I guarantee people in your life might criticize that. They might say, you're spending way too much time on yourself. You're not going out to the bars anymore. You're too focused. You've
Yeah,
changed.
it definitely will say that.
But what is the ultimate long-term result of that season of intense selfishness?
The paradox is that by spending 180 days becoming the strongest, smartest, and most emotionally stable version of yourself, you actually become infinitely more valuable to everyone else around you.
Oh,
You become a far better, more present partner. You become a highly capable, highly compensated employee or founder. You become a stronger, more resilient leader for your community, and a deeply grounded friend who can actually offer real help.
because you've built the capacity for it.
You cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to build the asset, which is yourself, before you can offer immense, life-changing value to the world.
I couldn't have summarized it better myself.
Yeah.
You have to pour the deep concrete foundation so you can build a house that is strong enough to shelter not just you, but everyone you care about.
Exactly.
Okay, everyone, we have covered a truly massive amount of ground today. The biology, the psychology, the daily execution, the entire 180-day blueprint is laid out clearly in front of you.
It's all there.
But consuming this information, just listening to us talk, is completely meaningless without real-world execution. So we're going to wrap up this deep dive by putting the ball entirely in your court.
The theory is over. It is time to act.
Exactly. I want you to think deeply about everything we discussed today. The physical training and diet, the hard-skill deep work, the brutal digital detox, the deep reading, the ruthless daily discipline, the 10 minutes of silence, and the upgraded social presence.
It's a powerful list.
It is. So here is our direct, uncompromising challenge to you. Lock in your answer right now. If you could only pick one of these 7 habits to start tomorrow morning, which one would it be and why?
Think about it deeply. Analyze where your biggest weakness lies and attack it.
Commit to it. Make the choice. Take that first uncomfortable step and start your 180-day transformation today. You have absolutely everything you need. We will see you on the other side.